7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Welcome into another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. Sitting here in Studio A. It is the weekend before Super Bowl weekend. This is, what do they call this, like Dead Week? Or There's not a lot of media attention. Mm-hmm. It seems like it's a lot of rehashing on the championship games, which obviously there's plenty to rehash on those. But then it really ramps up Monday. So we'll just call it Dead Week before the Super Bowl. But
you don't want to call it Pro Bowl week?
Oh, I forgot about the Pro Bowl.
Well, exactly. That's exactly why you don't
sorry.
call it
It's Pro Bowl week.
Yeah, right.
Hooray! I went to a Pro Bowl. You ever been to a Pro Bowl?
No, I didn't know you'd gone to one.
Yeah, it used to be.
Oh, wow.
The one. Okay, I don't know what year, I remember what year it was, but I actually won tickets on a radio station when I was in college in Orlando.
Wow, that's cool.
The Pro Bowl was in Miami.
Oh, not the Hawaii one. Oh, that's
no.
Oh, okay.
No, that would have been cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I expected you to say. It was going to be one of the ones.
No, I'd love to go to the one in. I mean, obviously they don't do it anymore, but I've never been to Hawaii. Actually, the producer and I, Desiree, were looking at cruises to Hawaii.
Ooh,
I didn't
nice.
know you could do that.
Yeah.
It ports out of Long Beach, California, and it's a 14-day cruise.
Oh, that's the way
all
to
the
do
way
it.
to Hawaii, around a few of the islands, and then you come back. Obviously, it was like $1,800 a person plus taxes and fees. So
That's 2 weeks though. So I mean, when you
factor it all in,
yeah.
2 weeks, all inclusive, food, entertainment. It wasn't a terrible. Value. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But that would be cool. Cruise to Hawaii, do the Pro Bowl, cruise back. I don't know if you have to catch the boat or something, but
Yeah. They usually stop for a little while, depending on which type of cruise. I've only been on one myself, and it was Caribbean.
Where'd you go? Caribbean?
Caribbean,
I've
yeah.
been on a few of the Caribbean ones. We did Bahamas.
Okay.
And the best part was in college, we did Bahamas cruises because they were like $180 all inclusive for like 2.5 nights.
Oh, and you just
poured out of money. You just get trashed.
drink to death.
Oh,
Yeah,
my God.
absolutely, of course.
It's like, it's $180 and I'm going to drink my weight in alcohol.
That's great.
And it was fantastic.
Yeah.
So we enjoyed some of those. And then we did the Cancun Cozumel Grand Cayman cruise one time.
Oh, okay.
That was cool. Where'd you go?
Yeah, it was the same type of thing. Not the Caymans ones. It was Bahamas, like just Key West, and what was the other spot? I think it might have been like St. Thomas or something like that. Yeah, it was pretty good. It was very nice.
That is
it was
cool.
a very enjoyable time. Highly recommend. And as you said, in regards to the cheapness of it, I mean, it was a 4 or 5 nighter for like
If you can catch
$300
them
to
off
$400.
season.
Yeah, it was
if you
great.
can
It was
catch them off-
January. It was fantastic.
And you're not jumping in the water, so what's the, who cares if you're going in, February might be mid.
Totally.
Who cares if you're going in like November?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you 100%. It was a great experience. I really enjoyed it.
Those are really cool. I like a good cruise. Actually, Desiree and I are going to Alaska on a cruise in May, so you guys are going to all have to pick up the slack.
Nice.
As far
I've heard
as-
those are awesome. Those Alaska cruises. I've never.
I have. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. We're going to fly to
That'd be great.
Seattle, port out of Seattle, go do the whole Alaska thing, and then come back to Seattle and fly back. So
That's
I'm
great.
I'm intrigued by that. I'm excited to do that. Anyways, enough of that. Let's remind you, you're still talking. You're still here with the Vegas Squares podcast. We are in studio. That's Tony Johnson. I never introduced him, but you probably know by the voice by now. He's been on 1 or 2 podcasts here talking sports with us. Let's thank the sponsors: 12 Ounce Sports Radio, ChaiPoker.com, Eric on the Web Productions, Vegas Puckline Apparel. We want to thank all those sponsors, obviously. And did I say 12 Ounce Sports Radio?
I believe you did. That was the first.
Just
one.
in case, we'll double down. 12 Ounce Sports Radio. You can hear us 4 times a week: Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. And as well, you can always listen to our podcast at VegasSquares.com or interact with us on Twitter at Vegas Squares. I promise you, I've been a lot more tame on Twitter since the college football season has ended.
Makes it easier.
Yeah, it does. It's the only team I'm super passionate about, and I'm a diehard Pats fan, and even I don't get up in arms about NFL football. And I don't know if that's just Vegas and betting has deadened my passion for sports, and I think we've talked about it. I know you know my beliefs on the control that happens, or the manipulation, as I like to call it, in professional sports.
I hear.
So my motto is just pray you're on the right side.
Yeah.
So anyway, speaking of college football, actually the first topic I wanted to get into which is something that obviously could hit home for us, is the Pac-12 has had a lot of trouble filling Levi's Stadium. I'm sure you're probably aware of that.
I knew that. I didn't know about this upcoming piece of news, though. This was the first I'd heard about it a few minutes ago. So,
they had that Friday night tilt, which people love because TV, they're the only game on.
Great for TV, yes.
But for filling the stadium, it's not going so well, especially in a stadium that seats, I don't know exactly, but in a ballpark, 70 to 80,000 people. Yeah. Nevertheless, Pac-12, the conference, has exercised its option to opt out of having the 2020 Pac-12 championship and beyond at Levi Stadium. And obviously, according to Santa Clara and Levi Stadium, the feeling was mutual. So, I mean, not to disrespect any of the Pac-12 or the Levi Stadium or Santa Clara, they didn't feel like it was beneficial to them either as well. So, it's not a blow necessarily for either one. Obviously, Santa Clara and Levi Stadium has an NFL franchise there, so they're okay. But now the Pac-12 is looking at new options starting in 2020. Remember, there's one more game in Levi's in 2019. But the first option that came on the table from what I was reading was the new Raiders Stadium in Las Vegas.
Seems like an excellent spot, absolutely.
I think it couldn't be better. I mean, I'm not a big Pac-12 guy, but I mean, on a Friday night I work nights and I work Friday nights, so before I go to work, I wouldn't mind running over and seeing Stanford play USC or, Oregon play Arizona. That would be a pretty cool. We already have the Pac-12 basketball tournament here.
Yes.
And is it at T-Mobile or is it at the MGM Garden?
It used to be MGM. They might have moved it to T-Mobile by now. I don't follow college basketball close enough, but I do remember it when it was at MGM Grand. Yes. Yes, so
it wouldn't be like it's their unfamiliar territory. And while this to me feels a little more centrally located, because obviously you have your Pac-12 Norths, you have Oregon State, Washington State, and Stanford, which is in Northern California. But I feel like you kind of alienated all your Colorado. I feel like you alienated your Utah. I feel like you alienated both your Arizonas. And I feel like this, even though it's not quote-unquote centrally located, this feels better to me coming to Las Vegas Stadium, not only for these schools to have fans being able to travel, but now you're talking about Vegas. This is the 1st of December. The weather's not terrible here. It's cold, but it can't be anything like it is in Oregon or Washington.
No, it's good. I think it's very nice.
And it's Las Vegas. Yeah. And as a person who is in the industry who works on the Strip, it's a little bit more job security day by day.
Yeah.
I can't hate it,
No, for sure. The only thing that I worry about, and this would be true wherever they decide to hold it, really, to be honest with you, is the amount of people that are willing to travel, in that time right after Thanksgiving usually, that early part of December. What was it, like December 1st?
This year I think it was December 1st, yeah.
Right, so, that's the only thing. But again, that's going to be true really no matter where you hold it at. That's not just a Las Vegas thing. That's kind of anything. It's just not as many people traveling around that time, more of a dead period of travel. So, that's the only, thought based on that, is that my guess is they wouldn't be able to sell out a stadium, as big as Raider Stadium will be, just like they're not selling out Levi Stadium. But certainly, as you said, I think it's great. And you didn't mention the Southern California schools, UCLA, USC. That's very drivable, obviously, for a lot of people. So I think it's an excellent option. And
I didn't mention them because even Northern California is 5-6 hours away. So it didn't feel like they were shut out. It felt like more the Utahs, the Colorados, the Arizona felt more shut out, having to travel all the way up to Santa Clara is basically San Jose area. So,
yes.
So basically that area. Mm-hmm. Now the conference and the stadium authority have not ruled out renegotiating, but I got to imagine the Pac-12 is going to take a shot at either Las Vegas or the other option that's on the table. If accepted by them, is the new Rams Charger Stadium as well. Whatever they're going to name that, I don't know what the name of that is for. But we've gone, according to the numbers here, we have had the Pac-12 championship every year since 2014, and they have not filled the stadium above 47,000 fans in any one of them. So that's a tough look, but again, TV, they're going to have no problem with that, but. Last year's matchup between Washington and Utah was 27-134, so that's not great.
That was a rough one last year, yeah, for sure.
And again, I mean, for the fans of those teams, the question is you're going to get your fans of those teams. The question is what area can you, or what stadium, what area of the country can you put this in that attracts the casual fan as well?
Yes.
Because, I mean,
yes.
Vegas, it sounds great on paper, and yes, it's a great travel destination for anybody, not to mention the fans of the teams who actually participate. But are Las Vegans, is that how you call them? Las Vegans?
Yes.
But I'm not vegan, I eat meat, so.
I've always used Las Vegan, I guess. I don't know. But
folks who live in Las Vegas,
whatever.
Are we going to show up for a Washington versus Utah? You and I probably would.
Yes, I think a super sports type of fan or someone that's really intrigued or loves college football. Yes, potentially, but no, the average local person that living in Las Vegas, I don't think that doesn't have a tie to either team. No, I don't think they would be going to a game like that, and I think that's true with the bowl game too. I would guess that the majority of the people that go to the Las Vegas Bowl are affiliated with one of those teams, of some sort. I don't think it's just a ton of locals that just decide to go to a bowl game.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's the kind of the question is okay. It's great if each team can. Let's say, like, what are we expecting for the Raider Stadium? 70,000, 80,000?
Yes, so I've heard in that range. Exactly.
If each team can bring 20, that still leaves half the stadium.
Yeah, well, you're going to have some corporate,
Sure.
things going on, and there's going to be some other.
That's the question. What is the expectation from the stadium authority from these schools? I mean, did Levi Stadium come out and basically say, look, you guys aren't getting the numbers, but I mean, like you said, right after Thanksgiving. There's also bowl season, which they're going to want to budget for as well. I mean, not even championship, just college football ticket sales are down all across the board in general.
It's been an issue for the last few years. It's a great point you bring up. And I think another point is that the Pac-12 hasn't really had a chance to get into the playoff for the last few years as well. So I think that has also made this more of an issue.
Also a fair point, yeah. And nor have they deserved to, really.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no question. Yeah, nobody's really arguing that they should be.
But you're right. If they, people watch good teams, and casual fans watch good teams.
Yeah, if one of those teams is undefeated going in and has a certain legit chance,
especially if it's USC or maybe even Oregon.
Yes, and that will bring maybe even a few more casual fans as well. So you're just going to kind of, I think, just multiply.
Kind of what have you done for me lately? And lately the Pac-12 has not done anything. And you're right. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, have they had a team in the playoff?
Washington.
Oh, yeah, Washington.
Came close against Alabama. Really had a nice game.
So in 5 years, they've had one team.
Just one. That one Washington
That's
team.
Amazing. Yeah, that's not amazing in not a good way.
No, yeah, definitely not. I think nobody expected, if we had guessed, 5 years ago, how many Pac-12 teams would there be? First of all, we wouldn't have said Washington. We probably would have said USC or something.
USC, Stanford, Oregon, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, it was a big shock. They've only had one team. And it's not one of those things where the Pac-12, the Pac-12, the Big 12 has had a lot of controversy. They could have easily had, more than their share that they've had so far. But I don't think there's really much controversy with the Pac-12, even with only 4 teams that there are, and that's a debatable topic. I don't think they've really deserved to have that, except for that one Washington team, which really was, I think, quite good.
Yeah, that's tough to say. I mean, I think there was a Stanford team in the top 10, but not playoff really worthy.
Right.
But you're right. I mean, it's hard to really say that there's a team that deserves. But you're right. If some of these guys, Chip Kelly at UCLA maybe can turn it around, get himself into the conversation, I think you're right. We can start looking at an increase in ticket sales, and I'm a proponent, not just from personal bias. I'm a proponent that anytime you can get an event in Vegas, people are going to be a little more amped up to come.
Definitely.
And no disrespect, but from what I understand, the stadium, the new stadium for the Chargers and Rams, is not in the greatest area of Los Angeles, California.
Inglewood.
It's up to no good.
That's for sure.
So in December, if I want to spend. Yeah, and I've seen hotel prices in California, and I understand how the resort fees and everything work here. I still think hotels here are a little more affordable in California.
Yeah.
Unless you want to stay in a motel dump.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of hotels that are close to Levi Stadium either. It's sort of out on its own, and you have to get on the freeway really to get there. So it's not in a great location hotel-wise, and there's not a lot
Levi's
of things
or the
around
new
it.
Rams?
Levi's.
Okay,
Levi's.
I thought we were talking about the Rams.
Oh, no, the Rams Stadium will be great. I mean, because that whole
the casino
village,
area is over there.
Yes, it's going to be an entire village of things. But no, Levi Stadium is really kind of out on its own. It's not a great location for all of that, for having a hub
Amazing they
kind
did
of
that
stuff.
for, like, not just this college thing, but I mean the 49ers. I mean, people who live in San Francisco have to travel an hour and a half to get
Decent chunk, yeah,
Yeah.
depending on traffic and things like that. Yeah, it's a little bit of a waste.
I don't want to say
Absolutely.
they've butchered it, but it just seems strange how that was their thought process and their plan.
Yeah, so a surprise.
And I've
I'm
heard,
with you.
obviously the 49ers are terrible, but I've heard attendance just in general has been down for them as well too. So
Not good. Yep.
But okay, so as a try to take your bias hat off because obviously you live here. You're a Las Vegan.
That's
but
true.
If you were a Pac-12 supporter of any team, would you rather spend every year? Let's say your team was 5 years straight in the Pac-12 title game. Let's say you're a let's say you're a USC guy.
Yeah.
And that's a bad analogy. Let's say you're an Arizona State guy.
Okay.
Would you rather go to a championship game in Vegas, or would you rather go to a championship game in Inglewood or Los Angeles?
I like both locations because I wouldn't spend a ton of time in that Inglewood area, but I like LA. I'm maybe one of those few people that actually enjoy that area. I like both, but again, loving this city so much, I'm trying to take myself out of it. I mean, not just that I live here, but it was always a fun time, whether we planned it around before I lived here or not, planned around an event or anything like that. It was always fun to come out here, even for just a few days, and just observe and enjoy a city that is unlike any other in the world. So, to me, the intrigue and the excitement of Las Vegas, no matter what time of the year it is, I think would take it over the top. I think it would be a notch higher, certainly.
Fair enough.
At least in my opinion. And
I think the common guy who doesn't live there is probably thinking, you don't hear like Inglewood, baby. You hear Vegas, baby.
True.
Yeah.
True.
And I'm not disrespecting Inglewood in general. I mean,
No,
Los
for
Angeles.
sure,
You're talking about most people don't appreciate it, and I think I might be one of you, or one of them, because like I don't dislike all aspects of LA. But generally, I'm not a huge fan of it.
Okay. Yeah. I get it.
I like the beach. I like, obviously, the sports. I like the some of the tourist events. But day to day, it would drive me nuts to live there.
Okay. Yeah. No. I enjoy a lot of the area, not all of it certainly, but I think there's some nice pockets here and there. It's a very underrated food city. So yeah. There's some small things that I really enjoy about it, but I can understand, especially traffic wise.
Well, look at me. I love the food.
Yeah. No, but that's one of the best parts of it to me is that you get a nice range too. It's not all high-end fine dining either. Like New York, some of the issue would be that some of the great food places,
New York, Las Vegas,
they have this fine dining kind of aspect to it, whereas LA is much more of a casual atmosphere, and there's not a lot of dress codes, things like that.
I'll take you to New York, and I'll find you the non high end.
Sure. Oh, and bring me to a deli anytime there, and I'll be happy. Believe me.
Deli, I'll bring you to this place called was it like Wang Fong #1 down in Chinatown. Oh,
okay.
Best little $5 platter you could ever have.
Well, you lived there for about a year, right? You said so. Yeah, that would be a good time.
Yeah. So, anyways,
we could talk about this all day.
Yeah, let's not get off on a food tangent. Although that would be cool too. We get Bobby Flay in here as our guest host.
That'd be fun. I think he'd be a lot of fun actually as a host. He seems pretty laid back.
He does. Good times. All right, so I have to bring this up, and the question is I don't know if you and I necessarily have to eat crow with this, but we definitely got this wrong.
Okay.
John Harbaugh just signed a 4-year extension with the Ravens.
I'm certainly in crow eating. I thought for sure he was gone. So yes.
And I thought as a lame duck coach with a team who was middling, but this was Flacco time.
I was going to say that too after you're finished as well. Yeah, I think
we both. I was in agreement with you. It would be hard to see Harbaugh coming back. It felt like the message kind of had worn out its welcome, but he got 4 more years.
He won a lot of games with a rookie quarterback that really isn't. Or wasn't and or isn't currently able to throw the ball. It's incredible. When you think about it like that, John Fox won a playoff game with Tim Tebow. Things like this. Some of these coaches are just underrated in the sense that they're not flashy. They don't get you super excited about stuff. But there's no question that John Harbaugh's a great coach, and that wasn't my issue. Was not him not being a good coach. In fact, I think I said the opposite.
Both agreed.
Yeah, we both agreed that he's good. He's quite good.
It was timing.
The situation exactly.
What did we say? It was like Flacco, Newsom, and Harbaugh would all be out in the
And I thought that John would have his sort of pick, and he probably still would if he just played it out his last year. He'd have his pick of kind of where he wanted to go. So that's why I thought he'd have options, and he still very much could. But, I am surprised. I'm surprised that they've gone back to it here. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens, because I think that Marty Morningweg, is out, or he took another job somewhere. So it will be interesting to see what they do with the offensive coordinator position, especially with a player like Lamar Jackson, who's a total intrigue. Because while certainly I was not a big fan of his, as a current quarterback, and I was surprised they won as many games as they did, I am a fan of what he can bring to the table maybe in the future. And certainly he's got a lot of potential. And if he can, really get a lot more accurate with his arm and make some better decisions, I mean, it would be a lot of fun to watch. That's for sure. So I'm looking forward to see what they do.
Well, let me throw a wrinkle in that for you. Okay?
I'm ready.
Put your thinking cap on.
Okay.
So the wrinkle I'm going to throw to you is, now that Harbaugh has, let's call it stability. I mean, again, he could always be fired, but he's going to be paid.
Sure.
So let's just say he has stability, because I think he had 1 year left, and now he's got a 4-year extension. So now he's got 5 years on his belt.
Mm-hmm.
He won a lot of games with Joe Flacco.
Yes. And a Super Bowl, which nobody thought could happen.
Is there any chance that if things don't go great in training camp, they go back to Joe Flacco? I mean, you just said Lamar Jackson can't throw a football.
Yeah.
And the running game can't last forever. You can't, unless you can reinvent the running game week to week.
Yeah, I don't think he can take as many hits and run the ball as much as he does and stay healthy for a year. I don't think he can do it for a full year.
I mean, you talk about his accuracy. His accuracy is worse than Tebow's, and
wow.
I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything.
No.
I mean,
the stats are what they are.
Everybody says
Absolutely.
Tebow is god awful, and again, he's a rookie. He won games, and to me, and I don't care how awful you are. You win games, I don't give a shit what you do.
Yeah.
So if he's going to win games, Lamar Jackson is your guy. I have no issues with that.
Right.
Please don't get that twisted. But if he's not winning games, and he looks like he does now, currently,
right.
I mean, Joe Flacco's still there if they don't trade him.
I think one of the best things that happened to them was the game against the Chargers, that playoff game. I think they finally sort of saw what can happen when a great game plan and a quality defense is there, and how bad it can look offensively. And I'm confident in the fact that I think Baltimore is all in on Lamar Jackson.
I don't doubt that at this point, but things can change in the NFL on a dime.
I think it has to go really, really, really badly for him, for it to change, if Flacco is even still on the team. Who knows what will even happen in the offseason. But I would be very shocked. Again, your point is taken. I think it's a possibility, but I think this is an all-in situation with these guys. I think they saw what they can potentially do with a quarterback like Lamar Jackson. Now, certainly a lot of other things have to happen, as we've talked about with the passing and the lack of design runs for a quarterback. I think certainly needs to change, and maybe one of the reasons why Marty Morningweg is moving on. But this is I think it's an all-in sort of deal. I think they are 100%. Behind Lamar Jackson. I think they will make draft picks and they will, make acquisitions based upon Lamar Jackson's strengths and weaknesses.
That's the question. I mean,
what, be my guess.
What do you do? Because, I mean, we look at guys, and I only know this because of fantasy football. I had John Brown, and when Flacco was under center,
and he was good.
John Brown was fantastic.
6 games, yeah.
But when Lamar Jackson was under center, he literally did not exist. So what personnel are you speaking of that are going to bring in? I mean, if you have a guy who has to have the ball in his hand, who do you bring in to complement that?
Yeah, this is way above the pay grade here.
I pay you enough.
Yes. Well, that's yeah. Oh man, that's a tough question. I do think that it becomes more of a grind it sort of old school kind of game where you might build your offense a little bit more from the offensive line. I think adding a fullback potentially. In certain spots might make some sense.
Offensive lineman too.
Yeah, that would be my guess. Offensive lineman that can not only
pull.
Yes, but move well. That was going to be my next one. So they might be a little bit more undersized per se, but probably move a little bit better and get down the field a little bit more if need be. So that would be my guess with how you would want to maneuver a little bit there. But besides that, I think it gets back to the most important thing that has to happen is the drilling of him to be more accurate with the ball, understanding, reads, and just the NFL game, the flow of the game, and not taking off quickly, setting his feet. There were a couple times where he wasn't setting his feet after he moved a little bit. Before he threw the ball, he did not set his feet. That's why the ball, was thrown awry many times. And I think things like that, which can be learned. I'm not saying, it's not certainly over at all.
No, I'm not ready to give up.
No, I know you're not. I know.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, like, the thing is the knock on Tebow was that, he was a terrible passer. And for the most part, that's true. However, he won football games.
He did, yes. He won some games.
His team won football. However you want to call it.
He did, yes.
The team won football games.
Right. I think that part of the reason, though, with Tebow is not to make an intellect sort of issue here at all, but I don't think Tebow's mind as a quarterback was all that good, and it appears that Lamar Jackson's mind is significantly better in that sense, as being a quarterback
so?
and making, in my opinion, from watching
fair.
them both, to me, I think Lamar is... He seems to have a better mind to play the position. He makes better decisions, when to run, how to get a first down, maneuvering his body a little more. Tebow was much more of a, kind of run through you sort of quarterback.
Tebow was built that way. Lamar Jackson's not built that way.
True, but Lamar will lower his shoulder and will get a few extra yards at certain times, which you don't really want your quarterback doing. But to me, he has a much better understanding of where he is in the field and the game, and I think they won a lot of games because he did a lot of smart things, not only with the ball in his hands, but also without it. I think he threw the ball away as games went on. He threw the ball away a little bit more. I mean, it was, to me, he's a pretty smart quarterback, and I want guys that are pretty smart, with the ball. So, and that's been the thing with Lamar Jackson, and what Bobby Petrino had talked about too before he went in the draft. And again, I'm not the biggest Bobby Petrino fan, but he's certainly a good offensive mind and has had some good fortune with quarterbacks over his career. And he one of the things he talked about was the non-athleticism, was how much he loved working with Lamar Jackson and his mind. So, and I see some of the similar things that Petrino was talking about. So that's just my own take on it.
All right, question. Prop bet time.
Prop bet.
Non-injury related, and barring the fact that Flacco doesn't get shipped out, does Flacco start a game next year?
Non-injury related, no. But I think if we just say, will he start one if he's on the team, I think it's an absolute
Again, that's why
yes.
that's why I say non-injury, because injuries it's the NFL.
Yes, but it's going to be more likely to happen to a quarterback like this than Tom Brady or something that just isn't going to
Correct.
take a lot
No,
of
I
hits.
understand. I'm just saying, I'm basically saying if he gets benched at any point.
Yes, I don't think he will get benched.
Fair enough. I just think he's got to get a whole lot better all around game.
I think he does too.
So
I think he does too, but I think he will. I think he will get better enough, and they can do enough with this, and you get a great offensive mind in there that can call plays. I'll trust John Harbaugh with finding a good guy. He's done this before many times throughout his career, so he's
got, like I said, he's got security. So
that's true. That's a good point.
Also leads to the situation where that's why I wonder. I wonder it from both sides. From one side, he knows what he has in Flacco, and he wanted to go to Flacco in that game. He did, but he couldn't.
I'm surprised they didn't.
It didn't make a lot of sense. The only reason I thought maybe it made sense is because at the time he did not have a 4-year extension sitting in front of him. So even though they lost that game, I thought maybe, like you said, this is it for him. He's gone. Even though they made the playoffs, I mean, for all intents and purposes, they got beat by the Chargers.
Yes,
the score was a lot closer than the game.
Oh yeah, that was very one-sided. Mm-hmm.
So my thought process was now with security, if things don't go well, because you wonder. I mean, Ozzie Newsome's probably the guy that picked Lamar Jackson.
I would expect so. Yeah, it doesn't seem like a John Harbaugh type of quarterback,
right.
Essentially. Yeah.
And we all know, if you're not their guy, sometimes you have a shorter leash. So that's what kind of got me thinking about potentially Flacco regaining a starting role in the offense.
I get it. I just feel like if John's re-signing this deal and he's going to stay here in Baltimore, I feel like he's got to be.
Well, I got to imagine that. I mean, do they have someone in place for Newsome? I assume they do. I mean, Newsome's gone.
I expected there was somebody. I don't know. That I don't know. I
have to look that up and see if they actually hired somebody.
That's a good point too.
Because
I don't know. My guess is that who would get along, whoever it is, would get along quite well with John. I don't think John would re-sign, an extension like that without being on the same page. Essentially,
Eric DeCosta.
Yeah, I don't know the name, but I would expect that they have to be relatively on the same page for the most part. Because again,
I would imagine he was a promotion, not an outside
Sure,
hire.
yeah. Because I mean, John, would have, if he wanted to, been able to have a good selection of where he, could have coached in another spot, certainly at both levels. So I would expect that he's got to be pretty confident with his relationship and the quality of the GM.
I think we have some inside information. DaCosta started as a video coordinator, hired by John Harbaugh.
Ah, there we go.
So I'd imagine they're
Good.
they're the same guy.
Good.
My question is that's what I'm saying. If Lamar Jackson does not progress, and eventually, like we've seen it, Kaepernick, RG3.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at all these mobile quarterbacks.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, RG3 was even more accurate than Lamar Jackson.
No question. He was
So I mean,
quite
if
good.
this doesn't get better, and we all know the defenses adapt. Look at the Chargers. They saw him once, they adapted.
Yep.
I can't say for certain. It's a hard sell. It would be a hard bet. I mean, what do you set the line at for that? Joe Flacco starts a game.
Again, the barring injury, or are we going to include everything here? I think the injury is a big factor.
Well, of course
here
it's a
with
big
Lamar Jackson.
factor, but I mean, when they make prop bets, it's an injury factor too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'd say he's what the yes is plus 4 or 5.
4,500? No, I think it would be lower than that.
Yes, plus 2 or 3. That he starts a game.
No, because if you include the injury factor, I think
Yeah,
it's
that's true.
gotta-
The injury factor.
Yeah, I think it's more like even money, actually.
No.
Yeah.
I'll have to tweet all the sportsbook directors.
If he's on the team week 1, is that a key to this? He's on the team week 1?
Sure, absolutely.
Well, I just
If he's
want to
not
make
on
sure. Okay.
Okay, if he starts a game for the Baltimore Ravens, you put this prop bet out in August.
Yeah, I think like plus 100 to plus 120-ish would be where I would set it.
Okay. Where would you set it at? He starts a game this year at all? Anywhere in the NFL?
Oh, really high.
You think so?
Yeah, because if he goes anywhere else, he's going to,
Anybody trading for him is going to make him the starter.
for sure. Yeah, he's not competing for a starting job as a Super Bowl winning quarterback. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I understand. No, I'm not saying that. I was just...
And I don't like the guy that much. I mean, he's fine. I'm not
have
a
any-
Joe Flacco fan, so yeah, I don't really
I
care.
feel like I want to like him because it's like, I mean, in the beginning of his career, it was like he made the playoffs every year, and then he won a Super Bowl, and then it was just like the lights went out. No pun intended, obviously, because of the Super Bowl.
that big contract probably didn't help things.
Yeah, well, it's definitely everyone's point of blame. So,
Yeah.
all right, let's move on to another quarterback, Cam Newton, off-season surgery. Although it was arthroscopic, it's surgery. Surgery is surgery.
Yep.
Got me thinking. Cam Newton's been in the league, I believe, 8 years now at this point. And while he has been to a Super Bowl, generally, how would you rate his career? If you had to give him a letter grade, like in school.
Yeah, he won an MVP too, didn't he? I think.
Well, that was the same year. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, rate his career. I would say better than I thought. So yeah, definitely above average. No question about that. How great though? Yeah, somewhere in the towards the top tier of quarterbacks. I wouldn't put him in that top upper echelon, which is probably the best 4 or 5 or so. He's in that second level. A quarterback that can win you a game, that is absolutely is a go out and win you a game type of player, both with his arm, legs. He's certainly capable of that, but mistakes can mount at times, and I think some of the off-field stuff or the things that go on in the press, he's had some bad looks. No doubt. He throws a lot of interceptions. I know that. I don't remember what it is. I know he has one of the worst touchdown to interception ratios, which can tell you a little bit about a quarterback. I have that off the top of my head, but
I have it here.
Okay.
It's 182 to 107.
yeah, that's not
It's
ideal.
not great.
No.
Usually you won at least
Right.
2 to 1.
Yeah. And if we're talking about him potentially being an elite type of quarterback, so.
Right.
Not a guy I would want to start around my franchise. Again, I don't like a lot of the off-the-field sort of intangible stuff. I'm not a fan of the way he carries himself on the field at times. Again, I'm just not the biggest fan of. I much prefer a quarterback to be a little bit more cerebral and a little bit more, letting things kind of flow, both positive and negative, as the game progresses. And I think you'll find the great majority of quarterbacks, both here and before, are going to be guys that let the game kind of come to them and just kind of are easygoing about mistakes and about great stuff too. So I'm just not a fan of how emotional and worked up he gets in the game. So to me, I wouldn't want to start my team around him. I'm not the biggest fan per se, but he's had a better career than I certainly expected him to have. I don't know if that answers the question.
You gave no letter grade.
Oh, you want a letter grade? Letter grade would be a B+.
That's busting your job.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I'll preface this by saying I think Cam Newton off the field is a fantastic human being. I think what he does for kids, what he does for charities, what he does for a lot of people is second to none. And yes, the situation with the female reporter, that was a bad one. And the one after the Super Bowl, I initially wanted to pound on him for, but then after more thought, here's a kid, just lost the Super Bowl, give him a minute. But again, that's not the way the NFL works. They want instant reaction. So it looked bad on him, but I will give him the benefit of the doubt. So really in his professional career, my big harp on him was, if I had to harp on him, would be the female reporter. Obviously, he was kind of an idiot at Florida, which got him booted out of Florida. But so was everybody under Urban Meyer. All right, all that being said, that was my preface.
Nice. I like the little Florida dig. We got one in. That's good.
Well, he was. He ran with Aaron Hernandez and Carlos Dunlap, and those two were big idiots at college. And obviously, unfortunately, or fortunately, Aaron Hernandez is no longer with us at this point. All right, all that being said, all that preface, I think he's an average quarterback. I think he's average at best. And yes, he can win you a game, but yes, so can Matt Stafford. And I think Matt Stafford's got to go too. So I think Carolina has to start looking at the future. And not necessarily this year, but I believe they've got to start making a thought to move on. Because I'm already probably sitting here thinking that Ron Rivera's going down with Cam Newton. They're going. The ship's either sinking or sailing with both of those two guys as the captains. So, all that being said, you have a new owner, and you have a division where you have about 2 more years of Drew Brees and five more years of Matt Ryan, give or take, depending on how long quarterbacks play now.
Sure.
And, again, nothing really in the works for Tampa Bay unless Jameis Winston just completely flips script.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Cam's not getting any younger. I mean, he's already, let's see, I got it right here. He is 29.
He's got 2 years left on his contract.
He's got 2 years left on his deal that pays him actually very little in retrospect to quarterbacks.
Comparatively speaking, yeah.
So, 2 years left. Again, you going to pay the guy? Or there are some quarterbacks in this draft and the next few drafts, one that plays right down the street, maybe not down the street, but one that plays in South Carolina, who's everybody's flavor of the week in Trevor Lawrence, coming out right about the time Cam Newton's contract's up. I personally believe it's time to start the process of scouting his replacement.
I don't think there's any question. We've seen, as you said, 8 years of this, and I think
it's 8 years, something like that.
Yeah, no, that sounds right. It sounds almost exactly.
It is 8, yeah.
Okay,
8 years,
yeah. I 100% agree. Again, if you don't have an elite, top 4, 5, 6 plus quarterback, I think it should always be in the back of your mind. And I care a little bit more about the other intangible stuff than you do. And I think.
I think he's perfectly capable of winning a game. His offensive, his ability to run the ball makes him so hard to game plan for.
Sure. Yeah, no question.
But you're right. I think sometimes his on the field attitude or his on the field decision making, and obviously his inaccuracy.
Yes.
Are problems.
Big one. Oh yeah, for sure.
They're problems.
Totally agree. No, I'm in agreement, and yeah, especially the fact that he's getting into.
If anybody ever listens to this, I'll get a lot of brushback for it. And even this year was actually his highest completion percentage.
Oh, really?
66.5.
Really? Wow.
Highest career completion percentage.
Wow.
He is a career 59% passer.
Yeah, that's not going to get it done.
No, it is not.
Great. That's a little lower than I thought. I knew he threw a lot of picks, but I didn't realize it was that low. Wow.
Picks, 107. Again, I think the minimum base is a 2-to-1 interception ratio.
Yeah,
for a quarterback.
If you're not over 2-to-1, that's not good. That's actually legit definitely not good. So, and it's not like he's throwing a ton of touchdowns and he's trying to. He's just not he's not as accurate. It's just not a guy that's they've been behind a ton, and in a lot of games he's trying to fit balls in, and I get it, but yeah, this is not this is just more of an inaccurate passer. So,
and the question is are you in the camp of feeling hamstrung to pay a guy, or do you sit in the camp of, hey, look, I'll give him the 5 years? I guess it's the Stafford versus Bortles. Stafford had the 5 years to prove himself. Whether you agree that he did or not, he got paid.
Right.
Bortles had 5 years to prove himself. He didn't prove it. He's out.
Yeah, I think it's a case-by-case basis. I'm not really on a side per se here. I think you just have to evaluate exactly what you have. Every quarterback is different. Every player
I
is
understand
different.
that, but I think the general premise is the same as. And again, I'll preface that by saying it takes a lot longer for a quarterback, if they're not one of the great ones, to get acclimated to. I mean, look at Aaron Rodgers. I think sitting those years probably was the best thing for him. But head coaches don't have that time anymore.
Right.
So you're not going to sit Matt Stafford. You're not going to sit Cam Newton. These guys were the number 1 picks in the draft. And Bortles was number 3. And, you're just going to shove these guys to the fire and hope they get better day by day. We're seeing it right now with 5 quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield's taking the lead. But does that guarantee he's going to have the best career of those 5 guys?
Sure.
Lamar Jackson made the playoffs, but will he be in the league in 3 years? It's hard to say, because when these guys come up, then it's time to start paying them $25, $30 million, and that's where your cap gets hamstrung. There's another approach where what the Rams are doing right now is pay everybody else while you have this quarterback who doesn't make a lot of money.
Yes.
And you can say, at least this year, it's worked. And are they going to continue with that? Maybe, but eventually they have to pay Goff.
Yes, I think that's exactly what the Rams are doing. Is they, again, the confidence in being.
They have one more year to do this too.
And they again have a great offensive mind at the helm, and I think he is going to still find good coaches as they continue to go. And
Marcus Peters 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Sue 1-year deal. Fowler 1-year deal. You locked up Donald, obviously, but.
Yeah.
Or are you going to find these guys every year? I mean, is Sue going to want to come back? Is he going to come back for 18, or is he going to want 25 if they win the Super Bowl?
Right.
So it's going to be hard to find. I get the pay everyone now process, but if everybody's saying, well, I'm going to get this one deal, and then how do negotiations work with Ndamukong Suh, who signed for 16 and now wants 25, or throw a player who's not on their team now who wants to come over for this ring chasing thing, and he wants too much money. So.
It'll be the toughest thing they have to get through is Jared Goff and his upcoming contract potential, or what it ends up being. I think that'll be the toughest thing that franchise has to do in that realm in these next coming years, no question.
And that's what they've been saying, for Dak Prescott. Like Coward says, he's like, he's like, if Dak Prescott wants to stay relevant for Super Bowl titles, he needs to take a pay cut in terms of when it's his time to get paid. He needs to only take 18 to 20 and not 28 to 30, which I agree with, but it's hard. And again, I'm not always a player guy.
Yeah.
But I have no issue with a player at the peak of their performance saying, I want it all. I want everything I can get, especially in football.
That position, too.
Right.
The most important position in sports, and the position that is, for what they're paid, they're drastically, underpaid. So
and the thing is
totally
that's where I fall in the. I'm not anti-player, but when you tell me I'm being underpaid, if you publicly say I'm underpaid or I need more, you don't have my sympathy.
Yeah. No,
but I won't stop you if you're saying I want $30 million. Go get what you want to get. But if the front office says no, then you don't have my sympathy at that point. My point being is that circling all the way back around to Cam Newton, at some point you're talking about a 31-year-old quarterback. Are you going to pay him, or are you going to look at moving on?
Yeah, my guess is that this will be probably all come together. They'll probably move on.
Who just had
relatively
surgery,
all
by
at
the
once.
way.
Yeah.
The second surgery in a little over a year.
So it's a thing. It's an absolute thing. And again, as you said, he's getting into his 30s now, and it's a lot of quarterbacks aren't going to be able to play until 40. Breeze and Brady are not normal.
This is the new norm.
This is not normal.
It's not normal.
No, it's not. This is not going to be one of those. Oh, well, quarterbacks are just going to play like this now.
And while it may be normal for passing quarterbacks, he is not a passing quarterback. He needs to run to spin off of that.
Yep. And I think as he gets a lot older, and certainly the speed and the way shiftiness goes down as he ages, I think this is an exact type of player that is going to fade a little faster than I think most most passing style quarterbacks would fade. I just think he'll do it at much more multiplied level. And yeah, my guess would be that Carolina is probably already in the process, as you said. About
I mean, obviously they're
thinking
smarter
about
people
what's
than we
going on.
are, but
Yeah,
I
would expect that they're already. It's already in the works of what they're
at least early scouting. Yeah,
You would have to be. In fact, I'm sure it's got to be past early scouting at this point. I would think.
really. I mean, what are you looking at? I mean, Haskins is available. He's probably going to go before you pick. I have a hard time believing they're going to take Kyler Murray if he's even there.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, specific players. I don't.
But I'm saying,
not
like,
sure.
are you going to make a first-round pick on it? Because that's a big thing. Hey, we just spent a first-round pick
Right.
on a guy.
Right.
Are you going to wait for Tua to come out? Are you going to wait for Trevor Lawrence to come out? Are you going to, or if your Drew Lock's going anywhere from late first to early third, maybe he's a guy. The thing is Ron Rivera might be picking a guy that he never coaches.
Possible, but he's not making the selection. So I mean, it's
Well, they have input.
No, of course. I mean, I'm not saying they're not involved at least a little bit.
I'd imagine you're doing most things in the draft to help your team right away.
I would hope so.
But drafting a quarterback in the
Sure.
first round clearly shows that you're not helping your team right away, unless you cut Cam Newton the next day.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how all of the contract works specifically. If he's if they're on the hook, for how much money, depending on what it is, because he signed that a few years back. But yeah, I mean, it's I think it's one of those things that should always be a work in progress. Again, unless you have one of those stoic elite guys that are kind of the obvious sort of quarterbacks. To me, I think this should always be a thought, always a work in progress, and always something that you keep on your mind.
Which is funny because New England has one of those stoic elite guys, and they still always draft quarterbacks.
It's a fantastic point you just brought. That could not be said any better. Is a franchise like that has had one of these guys for over a decade now is always still kind of prepping and preparing because you never know, and the position is so unbelievably important that you always have to have something going on. So couldn't agree more with that, and that tells you exactly probably what you need to know. If a franchise like the Patriots, which have done things management wise second to none this last decade. That's that
Well,
sort
we
of
had
tells
the
you what you
Matt
need.
Castle year, so that could happen at any time.
Sure.
And
Very good that
and
year. He
they've
was
been able
11-5. He was good.
I know. I'm saying
Yeah.
when Tom Brady went down,
Right.
if he goes down now, there's a chance he doesn't come back.
Sure.
If he goes down with an ACL injury, there's a chance he doesn't come back.
You're right.
That's what I meant by that. So I mean, they've been able to turn
Yeah.
Ryan Mallett into a third-round pick, and they've been able to turn Jimmy Garoppolo into a second-round pick. So
Yeah, I'm not impressed with the second one. The first one, Mallett, and then Brissett. Ended up.
I've already told you my
getting taken.
conspircy theory about.
I
about
understand
the
you have.
Jimmy
Yeah,
Garoppolo.
let's not rehash that. But
Sure you don't want to hear it again?
Well, I mean, if you want to go ahead. If
No,
you're
no,
ready.
I don't
Okay.
want to. I just
Okay, no, let's not do it then.
I did tell you that though, right?
You did. You
Okay.
did. You mentioned it. Yes.
All right, let's talk about a quarterback who probably should be cut. It's Spike's favorite quarterback.
Spike's favorite quarterback. Ooh, who does he dislike so much? I'm trying to think.
He doesn't dislike this guy. They're twins.
Oh, Dalton.
Andy Dalton.
Yes. His redheaded friend.
His redheaded stepbrother. So Bengals brass has come out and said, even despite Zach Taylor obviously will take the job after the Super Bowl, hasn't made any remarks
Yeah.
regarding that. They said no matter what happens in the offseason and the draft, Andy Dalton is going to be
Big
the
Andy's
starter.
back. Well, yeah, it's unfortunate for the Cincinnati. If you're a Cincinnati fan, I think it's too bad.
Has he been that bad though?
I mean, he's not awful per se. To me, he crosses the line, the Matt Stafford line in the sense that Matt Stafford can go out and win you a game. Again, would I want to be my starting quarterback? No, you guys are all kind of right about that. But Andy Dalton is not a go out and win you a game kind of guy. He's very controlled and kind of stock and doesn't. He had some really nice games the year before this last one. He had some very, very nice games. It was the best year that I had seen from him of his career for sure. But it's still not enough. He's had his chance to develop all the way through.
And he's been in the league 8 years, just like Newton.
It's just there comes a time where you reach your max, your max point, and he certainly, to me, has reached it. And to me, it's not a guy I want to surround my team around and/or have to pay, $20+ million a year, what quarterbacks certainly go for, and it's an absolute move on at this point. There are definitely better options and a better, even if you're taking a chance. Obviously, Cincinnati's not in a spot right now to win or to be competitive in the division immediately. I think that certainly this division looks looks tough for these guys because Pittsburgh isn't really going anywhere. I know that they're not young per se, but they will still be a competitive team. And Cleveland is on the rise, and Baltimore still looks obviously just one of the division.
Baltimore's a playoff team.
So yeah, I think it's just a great time for Cincinnati in general with the division as difficult as it looks at this point.
Kind of start punting.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it's almost like a tank situation if we want to make the NBA comparison.
No punt intended.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you're the pun guy, so there it is. But
Fun to do.
no, I think this is a good spot. My guess is that if we look down the road, or at least in the next season on Cincinnati's roster, we'll see probably at least one drafted quarterback and at least one quarterback via free agency. Dalton will certainly still be the guy, obviously still under contract, but I think they're going to have a couple more options potentially going forward and really start to prepare for when they can gather a team together and really make a run at the division again. But I don't think it'll be next year at all.
Yeah, and it's I don't know. I mean, I don't think Driscoll played poorly either, and so to really rule him out is
definitely not.
I'm not saying they're not ruling him out, but it feels like
he looked better than I thought he would. Yeah, I agree with you, 100%.
So maybe he'll have a shot to compete. But yeah,
certainly.
I read this article I read this statement as Dalton will be the guy until we groom the next guy.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Exactly.
But the question is okay, so they groom the next guy, they move Dalton out. Do you see Dalton playing anywhere else, or does he just kind of never really get back into the league? As far what I mean by that is, there's some guys who there's a lot of guys who haven't accomplished what he has accomplished,
sure,
and still have jobs. Now, obviously, he would have to 1, swallow his ego, 2, take a huge pay cut.
Yeah.
Now, some guys can do that, and some guys are just like, you know what, it's not worth it.
There's not a lot of middle ground.
I've made a lot of money. Goodbye.
Right. My guess is he will stick around, and he'll be a guy that, could very well be a very high end, top end type of backup. Or there's always going to be a team that maybe has a late injury with a quarterback that may not be ready by camp time, or has a preseason type of injury that might be making a play for a division that ends up signing a guy like Andy Dalton or trading for him.
Okay.
And he becomes sort of like the essential starter, but he wasn't supposed to be the planned starter.
Kurt Warner?
Yeah, it'd be something along those lines where you sort of have to maneuver and do something because in the offseason you kind of took a chance.
Still want to at least show the fans you're competitive.
Exactly. And he's not going to cost you $20+ million to do so.
Not at that point, no.
Right. So that would be my guess, is he'll end up being one of those guys. I don't think there's any question that Andy Dalton will get a starting shot somewhere else, and we could very well see him be successful, at least for a little while, with the strong motivational factor there, and the fact that he's obviously, again, not a bad quarterback per se.
Right.
And if he's got some good players around him, if this is a team that is a competitive team, making a run, there's probably going to have some good players around him on offense, and that would be a spot. So yeah, I don't think that'll be the end of Dalton for sure. But yeah, to get a legit kind of contract for 3-4 years or so, like a team that decides this is our guy, we're going to go ahead and pay him.
Yeah, that's gone.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's switch gears, something a little more current. The Chiefs fired Bob Sutton, the defensive coordinator. I don't think that's the biggest shock.
No. That was expected.
Already replaced him with Steve Spagnuolo, one guy who has definitely been able to defend the Patriots. 2 Super Bowls worth.
Yes, the Giants, yes.
The question I really have is that, like, at what point does Andy Reid on the hot seat?
Almost no point.
It's weird, though, right?
It is weird. It's weird, but he's so good at one part of the game. I mean, just
The
so
regular season?
head and shoulders. The regular, yeah, I guess that's true. But even that, like, Marty Schottenheimer was really, really, really good at the regular season. It's that Andy Reid is just so innovative and great offensively that I think the fact that they're this great with a quarterback like Pat Mahomes, who is, again, I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I liked him out of college, but it's unexpected that he can be this good this early on.
Big 12 quarterback. I know that's a stigma that doesn't necessarily tie to every single person.
Exactly.
But it just seems to have been like every single one to come back. I think there was a stat that like the last quarterback to win a Big 12 game was like in the 70s. And they weren't the Big 12, they were like the Big 8 then.
Wow.
So that's
pretty
technically
awesome.
Never.
That's great. That's a cool stat.
Until Pat Mahomes beat the Colts. It's crazy to think of
That
that.
is awesome.
But
No, I think he'll be around for as long as. I mean, things would have to really go south.
and I know Kansas City is a way different market than Philadelphia, but eventually, I mean, four NFC championships, a Super Bowl appearance. Eventually, he wore out his welcome there, and he hasn't done that
Right.
here. And is he going on 5 years, 6 years?
Yeah, that's 5.
Give or take.
Yeah, something like that. Exactly. Yeah, you're in the ballpark, but no, and this is a franchise that has never seen success like this. They had a couple of nice little runs and teams.
Joe
with
Montana.
Well, yeah, that I was thinking more like the kind of Priest Holmes, Trent. What's his name?
Trent Green
sort of time with Dick Vermeil, but. Yeah, I think that this is, and it's an organization, as you said. I think the comparison to Philly is a great one because they really could not be on more opposite ends of the spectrum. While it's the Midwest, and I know it's still a relatively conservative area, they don't act like that. They are relatively laid back and forgiving, and they are not. It is not an end all be all like Philly, where we either love you or we hate you type of thing, and. Again, having lived in the Kansas City area for 3 or 4 years, it was really quite refreshing, actually, to see a football community and a group of fans that were actually relatively, for the most part, there's always going to be a handful that aren't good, but for the most part, were relatively knowledgeable and understanding of what can happen and what goes on in sports. And sometimes bad things happen, sometimes good things happen. You got to be able to roll with it. And I think it's a great fan base. It's an understanding, quality fan base, and I think all of that being said, it's a good spot for Andy Reid and a good spot for what they have right now. Nobody has this type of offense at this point. Grant you that. I understand that defensively that it ended up doing them in. They could not stop Tom Brady there at the end. Coin flip or not, who cares? You got to play some defense, and they didn't.
Right.
So. Yeah, I mean, it was.
Or if you line up on side, you're in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, okay. There you go. So.
I mean, and I had a conversation with a friend who's a Chiefs fan, and
Right.
and they were saying, you can't put this all on D Ford. He was crying. This game is not all about him. And yes, there were other
A lot of things happened, yeah.
Same thing with the NFC Championship. The whole game is not predicated on that.
Absolutely.
On that
Absolutely.
But I believe those two calls directly affected the game. Again,
Of course.
D Ford lines up off sides. We're not talking about the
Sure,
Patriots. We're
sure.
talking about the Chiefs and the Rams, which is probably the Super Bowl that every fan wanted from an offensive perspective. Maybe not the league, maybe not TV dollars, because everybody loves Boston and LA. My
Right.
point being is that, it's a direct despite everything that happened before the play and after the play, if he's onside, it's a dead issue.
Right. And
I understand you don't want to blame one player, but that's a mental mistake.
Right.
That's not dropping a pass. That's not missing a field goal like Cody Parkey. That is literally lining up offside. Something you do 80 times a game.
And unfortunately for him, it ended up being an interception. It could have been a 15-yard completion.
It could have been an incomplete or whatever.
Or whatever the case is. Yes, a
But
nominal.
because it was what it was, it's just gut wrenching.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
good with it, but it's gut wrenching.
No, I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, I don't think New England had the proper amount of people on the line of scrimmage in that play either. The call could have gone possibly either way too. But again, getting back to the D Ford thing as well, you got to line up on side. So that's obviously on him, 100%. So, no, I'm not going to get into the call, and that's fine.
No,
but
we're not going to get into the games because Dave and I ranted about it on the last podcast.
You did. I listened to that whole thing. You guys went after it. You went after it, and that's a good thing. But
Dave's
no,
an angry man.
he is.
He's great, though.
He's an intense guy. He believes in what he's got. So I like that about Dave, is that he's passionate and he stands by his thoughts. It's good. But no, I think that this is not at all a bad thing per se for Kansas City. They'll move on. They'll get somebody else. And
Who is that guy?
we'll see.
Tony Finau. I'm like, there's another black guy on the course. I forgot about Finau.
There's a few, yes.
Yeah.
But, so it'll be. I think it'll be fun to see what ends up happening, if they stay with the same defensive scheme or not. It'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of. It's pretty wide open there. They have a very old defense as well when you look, age-wise.
Yeah, they got to get Eric Berry to move on somehow.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Got a big contract, but let's stay with the Chiefs here because I actually found a prop bet that I think we can talk about.
Well,
It's a fun
Okay,
one. That you're
good.
the lover of the props.
I
This is
do
not
love props.
available stateside. Obviously, it's offshore.
okay.
But it involves Kareem Hunt. And the prop bet is as follows: will Kareem Hunt be a member of an NFL team for Game 1 of the 2019 season?
Good prop, yeah.
Yes, even money. No, minus 140.
It's a good line, yeah.
I'm shocked at the no -140. I got to imagine. But again, all the teams could say, look, we're going to maybe wait until we need him, or he went unclaimed on waivers, which I wasn't too shocked about, but at the same time, it would have.
That was a knee jerk, I think, more than anything else.
It kind of shocked me that Oakland and Dallas didn't say "fuck your couch" and just take the guy. Take the guy, sign him to a contract, and say, "Look, you're not playing until 2019. Deal with it."
Yeah.
Anyway,
it would have been a really, really bad look to do so. Like,
do you think those two franchises care about it?
I know they don't care about it, but
Dallas signed Greg Hardy in the middle of a trial. He was literally going on trial for assaulting his girlfriend.
That's a fair point.
Kareem Hunt.
It's a fair point.
Kicked, quote unquote, a woman. There was a kicking motion. I think he nudged her. I'm not going to get into it because that's just not the road I want to go down.
Everyone has been. There's a lot of people that haven't said their full opinion and belief on it, and you're just kind of saying, I think, what a lot of people sort of are thinking.
I think there was a kicking motion.
Yes.
But to say he kicked her like a field goal, I don't agree with.
This is not at all like the Tyreek Hill or Ray Rice videos. Not even close.
Correct. And I've never seen the Tyreek Hill video.
It's not good.
I've seen the Joe Mixon video.
Yes.
He knocked her the fuck out.
Yes, that one as well.
But again, without knowing the dialogue, it looked like she had it coming. Now, again, I never condone hitting a woman, but the Joe Mixon.
Wow.
Well, if you look at, have you seen the video?
I know, yeah, she attacks.
Is in his face.
I understand.
Hitting him. And again, I would never hit
just
a woman.
The way you said it,
I would get myself out of that situation.
Get out of there, yeah.
But there's people who have more temper than I do, and
right.
And I'm not.
I'm with you 100%.
I'm not condoning the hitting, but I'm saying it wasn't like she was walking down the street going, "Oh, hello, stranger," and he just clocks her.
And that's, to be honest, maybe we shouldn't be reading into the video that much, but that's one of the reasons why I might think about the yes here, is that it's just, I think there's going to be a lot of read into the fact that franchises see this video and they're like, well, obviously there was some sort of provocation. I'm not trying, again, now I'm not defending anything either, but that, and then if Kareem is really good in an interview and says all the right things,
and
I can't. Ahead. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any question he's going to get another opportunity somewhere at some point.
But that's not the bet here. My question,
I know, you're right. Exactly.
My question would be, and you're talking about that with the interview, is the franchise more concerned about what they saw on a video, or are they more concerned about the fact that he lied? Can I trust you to play for my team?
Yeah, it's an interesting point. Yeah,
that's the big question: is can I trust you? And if I can't, you can't play.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great point. Great point. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, think about, and I just saw a situation where. I was looking at draft as the draft is about to come up. Every little single thing. These franchises interview these prospects like with the craziest questions. Like the Drew Lock situation. They asked him about a math test he was accused of cheating on in 8th grade. I mean, they brought that up.
Yeah.
They knew he cheated, but they wanted to see how he reacted to it. If he lied to them, that creates a problem. If he told the truth, they probably don't care that he cheated on a math test in 8th grade.
Right.
And that was the problem here. Is I think. From everything that they say, the Chiefs saw the video and the NFL saw the video, and they probably didn't believe it was too bad. But then he lied. That's the question. And I'll tell you this: I was a bad kid, not the greatest kid. I wasn't terrible, but I was a bad kid. And my mother was always like, when I would come home and try to explain it, I would lie. I would say, "Yeah, I didn't do that," or whatever. And then every time I got caught, she's like, "I'm not mad at what you did per se. I'm mad that you lied." And it rings true in these situations. Yeah. I'm not. I mean, seeing the video, I don't think it's a great video, but I don't think it's as terrible as the Ray Rice video.
Not even close.
But he lied about it.
Not even close.
So to answer to make a bet here, I would say I would take the yes at even money.
Yeah, that'd be the side I'd lean on for sure.
But at the same time, I can see the no. I can see a situation where it's week 4 or 5 and he's gone unsigned, and a team, loses their running back.
Multiple injuries, absolutely, yes. Injuries. You know how things go.
And it's not juiced that much. It's not juiced as bad as you could make it with a situation like this.
I like the line. I think it's a good line.
$140. I would pay $140 for the no if I felt strongly enough.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good line. I totally am down here. Both sides make sense. I would lean towards a yes, but...
Me too. I would too as well.
I totally get it, and I think there's no question whether it's week 1 of next year or not. I don't think there's any question he'll play for someone next year, but who knows when.
So. All right, there's definitely no question this guy's going to play for someone. The question is who. and that is Antonio Brown. New wrinkles in the Antonio Brown saga. After, I believe it was like a week ago, Rooney, I think it's not Dan, is it? Art, yeah. Came out and said, I can't envision Antonio Brown being on this team going forward.
I'm surprised he said that.
I was too, because you're almost shutting the door on it,
do that,
which is shocking. But
it's a dumb thing to say publicly.
He has completely changed his tune since then and has said, we're going to have to sit down with Antonio Brown and figure out where he's at.
A rare Rooney mistake. I think he regrets saying it. My guess is after it came out, he was.
Yeah.
That had to have been. And the Rooneys have almost never done things like that. That was a mistake.
Yeah, I think
that was a mistake. There was no reason to say that at all. Again, you can think whatever you want privately. Whatever. Who cares?
And I think your initial reaction has to always be, well, look, we're going to find a solution to keep him on the team.
Be positive. There's no reason not to be positive with the media. Like, why? Why would you back yourself into a corner potentially when you don't have to? I mean, there's just nothing good comes from that. I mean, why would you say that? So. It was a stupid thing to say.
Yeah,
it was stupid.
I agree with that as well. So, but nevertheless, they are now sitting here doing damage control, or however you want to see it.
Yeah.
The question is now Antonio seems to have been kind of on a little bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for? He's been flirting with other teams, for lack of a better word.
He's such a pain in the ass. He really is. He's a great player. I mean, no question, his talent and ability is amazing, but he is such a pain in the ass.
It is. It's really weird.
I mean,
I don't even think Odell's this bad of a pain in the ass.
Oh, they're made for each other somewhere.
Maybe you should go to New York.
Oh God, these two. This is like the classic. Some of these great receivers, they just act like such punks. There's no reason for any of this. It seems like this position more than anything else. I don't understand it. It gets such a bad rap because some. Who of these
started
guys
that
like this,
though? Like,
I don't know.
Who was the first diva in the NFL as far as receivers?
Oh.
I mean, you're older than I am. I know not much, but I'm saying like you've been
You're
watching.
playing the age card. Nice.
Well, no, but I'm saying like you probably watched the NFL starting before. You would probably early mid '90s probably start watching the NFL.
Yeah, that was the beginning of it. I was in a football pool with my dad, and starting around 92, 93. Yes.
So I mean, my first memory of a football game is the Packers-Patriots Super Bowl.
We were on the Bills every week because it was a conference pool, usually 13 or 14 points. Back then, it was tough sledding because I wanted them for no matter where they were, home, road, didn't matter.
The Super Bowl Bills?
These were the good teams. Yeah, 93, 94, yeah.
But I'm just trying to think of who was the first diva. I mean, I'm trying to think. Jerry Rice didn't act that way from what I understand.
No, I don't think so.
No receiver in the 90s really. I mean,
Andre Rison was always a diva.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Andre Rison.
He was good. He was really good, too. He's one of those guys that doesn't get
He was good for a short spurt, I thought.
Well, he got some pretty good numbers overall.
True, yeah. Is he a Hall of Famer? Is he in the Hall of Fame?
Maybe not. Maybe not. He played for a lot of teams, too. I don't think that usually makes it a little bit more difficult. I wouldn't think so. But numbers-wise, he's got to be pretty close.
I mean, Crazy Legs Hirsch, maybe? Just because he had a dance, though. That's
Yeah, I don't know if that's enough. Certainly Owens is the
T.O.,
first major,
he was
really
98
major
or something like that.
Yeah.
He didn't really start doing shit until, I would say, the 2000s.
It took him a few years. But once he was there, though, he was all the way in.
Then you had Chris Carter and Randy Moss.
Yeah.
Kind of in that area, too.
Yes. There's just, I don't know, there's always...
I'm just trying to think of who was the first guy to really just be out there, you know?
Oh, what about, here we go. Here's a good name. Michael Irvin.
Yes, Michael Irvin. I'm trying to think if there's anybody in the 80s, but yes, Michael Irvin is great.
Maybe the 80s.
Great. But like Lance Allworth in the 70s, I don't really hear about him, not much. I just don't know. I don't know. Anyways, not that important.
It's interesting to think about, though.
It's just, how wide receivers all of a sudden became into a diva position. I'm just trying to think of who set that trend. And it might have been Andre Rison in 1989. He came in the league.
There you go.
He was with the Falcons 90 to 95. That's when he was with the chick from TLC. I mean, she burnt his fucking house down. I mean,
that's about as diva as it gets.
Yeah.
Burning down houses. That'll do it. I love it. Oh, yeah. Andre Rison. Glad he got into the podcast, too. That was unexpected.
Andre Rison.
Yeah, you don't think that Andre Rison's going to really enter in anywhere, and then he gets in, so good for him. That would have been my first recollection. But, yeah, besides that, this Antonio Brown thing just sucks. It sucks for everybody. It sucks for literally everyone, even the fans, because we want to see great players just play. And Antonio Brown, well, he's maybe not the same receiver he was 3 or 4 years ago in his prime. He's still certainly very, very good, a top 10 player at the position, and he's a guy that I think can play for a long time if he wants to and stays healthy as well, because he's not, a speed guy. He's not, he's not known for leaping ability type of thing. He's just a great route runner and really, really good at understanding where he is in the field. He doesn't take big hits. He's smart with his body, things like that. He's just so good at the position, and we just want to see him play for as long as he can and play great. Watching great receivers is obviously a joy. So. Yeah, I just hope that somehow clearer heads prevail, and whether he stays in Pittsburgh or whether he moves on and a deal is worked out and he can get into a spot where it makes sense for him and for the next organization.
Yeah, we talked about that the destinations for him, and that's the thing, is the question, and it's not sports related, but would you rather have some of a great player or none of a great player for the same price? Because they have to pay that $21 million one way or another.
Right.
So the question remains is, you're sitting here saying, not you, but, you're Rooney sitting here saying, I can't envision him on the team. Oh, wait, crap, there's a $21 million dead hit. Right. Who do you trade him for that you can honestly say, pay that guy's salary and still think he's worth the $21 million additional dollars in dead money? And there's been rumblings. I don't agree with this because I think it's a terrible move. There's been rumblings that they're going to trade Antonio Brown to the Raiders for Derek Carr to groom him as the successor.
Fascinating.
Now, you're talking about one saga between Ben and Antonio Brown. Could you imagine the saga between Ben and the front office with Derek Carr coming in here? You're not really getting rid of the drama at that point.
Not necessarily, no.
But
they may know more about potentially Roethlisberger's career.
Time frame.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of information here. I know I hate to bring this up because that's not good for the podcast.
They must not be loving Le'Veon Bell. Not Le'Veon Bell. They must not be loving Mason Rudolph at this point.
That's an interesting point as well. Mason Rudolph, who for some people thought that he might have a potential career, at the next level. Again, I'm another one of those guys I'm just very unsure about. But
sure, obviously, anybody who's not a first round pick.
That's a great point with Rudolph. Yeah, I forgot about that. So no, I think that would be certainly the fun level. The level of just fun with a trade like that, I think is always good. I enjoy things that are entertaining along those lines where we get to sort of play along. But yeah, it would be. I think the point of the trade, as you said, if you want to eat all that money, but you can get so much in return, whether that be an early to mid first round pick, or whether it is a player like a quarterback or an edge rusher that you really think can change your team complexion and change the game, then it certainly might be worth it because you're thinking much more forward for where you can go in the next few years and try to get younger at a position. And I think it all just depends on what is available at that point. But if you can't get anything that makes sense in return to just eat that contract, to just eat it, is seemingly probably not the right. You can't be that much of a cancer, in the clubhouse type of thing. I wouldn't think so. Mm-hmm. It's worked relatively well for the last 6-7 years. I don't know. I'd be shocked. But as we talked about earlier, the fact that the owner said that about a player, I don't think you should ever say anything about a player per se. But
you can have an opinion maybe when the player's gone. And even then, it's not a great idea, but definitely don't want to have an opinion that basically says he gone.
It's not good. It doesn't do anybody any good. So I'm
loving this this scenario that I've heard over the last couple of days. They trade Antonio Brown wherever, pick up a couple draft picks, slap the transition tag on Le'Veon Bell. And match whatever offer, unless it's a complete blown out of the water offer, match whatever offer anybody offers him, which means he would get the long-term contract. Basically, whatever somebody else offers him, he gets the long-term contract that he seeks, stays a Steeler, transitions into a committee running back, but becomes more of a receiver.
Yeah. It could work out extremely well.
What a crazy idea that would be, right?
Yep.
James Conner becomes your primary back. Le'Veon Bell is your third down guy, or obviously he's going to run. He can run too, and then he becomes opposite of Juju as a receiver. But talk about reinvigorating an offense right there.
It would be a lot of fun to watch. Absolutely.
Right. The question is,
it could work out well.
Is Bell's relationship with Pittsburgh Bell's relationship with Roethlisberger's has never been questioned.
Never at all.
Nor has it been. I mean, obviously he's a little salty with the front office, but he's already come out and said it's a business. I get it.
Yep.
I'm also a business too, so I'm doing what I got to do for me.
They have always been extremely complimentary of each other. Over the years, both of those players, to the media and such about each other's ability. Yeah, it's always been a very positive thing.
Seems like a very unlikely thing to happen, but I feel like in a time like this, it reminds me of Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah.
If you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, can you really feel good about your team if you lose both of these guys?
No, definitely not. And I think... And again, I think looking past the statistics a little bit, and I could end up being very wrong. Maybe James Conner will have a fantastic career and a long career, and I'll be dead wrong.
He can't do receiving-wise. He can't do what Le'Veon Bell can.
And I believe as a runner, he's not even close.
No, but again, if I believe as a running back in the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, I believe I want my running back, again, of course I want a Zeke or a Todd Gurley, but I want my running back when it's 3rd and 3, or 3rd and 1, or 2nd and 7. I want him to get there.
He gets there a lot with his running style, though.
James Conner.
No, I'm talking about
Le'Veon. Of course he does, but I'm saying James Conner on 3rd and 1. If I know 99.9% of the time he's getting that first down, I'm fine. If I can get him, if I can get a running back that averages 4 yards a carry, I'm good.
Fair enough.
And again, the book's still out on James Conner, but right now it looks like he's capable.
Looks like he can be very capable.
Yeah.
There's no argument for me there. Of course not.
And he makes $14 million less than Le'Veon.
Of course.
Bell.
Oh yeah, monetary wise, yeah, that's a different conversation. Yes, for sure.
But that brings in the value perspective. Yes, he can't do what Le'Veon Bell can do, but for what he's being paid, he can do great things.
Yeah.
And but I think honestly,
that, yeah.
a very small percentage of me thinks that's going to happen. But Le'Veon Bell lined up with Juju Smith-Schuster and James Conner in the backfield
could be great.
Feels just as deadly. And Antonio can go be on the Raiders.
Very good. It could be a very good offense.
Can go be wherever he wants to be.
Mm-hmm. I'm 100% in agreement.
It's just that $21 million, and that's what I don't understand. It's like if another franchise is willing to take on this guy's contract, why are you on the hook for it? Again, that's I don't understand a lot of contracts in the NFL. It seems to be the hardest one, other than maybe the NBA, to kind of keep your head wrapped around.
For sure, yeah.
So, anyways, that would be a very strange sequence of events, getting rid of Antonio Brown and replacing him at wide receiver with Le'Veon Bell. You're telling me there's a chance.
There you go.
All right, let's talk about a few wide receivers here because I got a whole stretch of them here on the agenda. Let's start with Larry Fitzgerald. He's coming back. And he's coming back for, I think, his 16th season, which I feel bad for the guy because he played in one Super Bowl, but he's an admirable guy. A lot of people think he's admirable. I mean, obviously, he's a great guy, a great human being. Yeah. But a lot of people really like him on the field because he doesn't go to a winner. He just kind of stays in Arizona and just kind of middles his way. But he's still great.
Yeah.
But he's never going to be considered that, winner.
No, again, that's we kind of talked about it earlier with some other players, that he's just a little bit not his fault. It's not much he can do. He's done certainly his job quite well over the years. So, I'm with you.
But that's the thing. Where do you rank him amongst, obviously, we talked about receivers. Where do you rank him amongst the receivers? Because the numbers are there.
Right.
But the success is not there.
I'm near the top. I wouldn't put him in the top 3-ish. Randy Moss is my clear number 1. I don't know.
Over Jerry Rice, huh?
Yeah, I don't really count Jerry Rice all that much because I didn't really we didn't see him play in his prime.
And I agree
wasn't
with you.
Very much
and
there.
I agree with you on that. But the stats alone are just amazing. He's 6,000 yards farther than the next guy.
Yeah,
and 200 or 300 catches.
True. He played a long time though as well. He
did, but I'll take a look at the end of his career. The end of his career couldn't have been very effective
with Oakland. Yeah, I don't know.
Oakland, Seattle, Denver.
Right.
He never actually played for Denver, but he was on their practice.
Oh, he was.
He was on their off season or whatever.
Well, Randy Moss to me was I never saw a player do what he did, and I maybe just happened to be because that was
He did have 2,000-yard seasons with Oakland and played in the Super Bowl with Oakland.
Yeah, no,
Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, nothing. Yeah, nothing against Jerry Rice. Again, you're not going to hear me say anything negative about him.
I mean, he had 3,500 yards in 5 years with Oakland and Seattle. Not great.
Fine, yeah, I mean, how old was he in those years too? He's probably pretty old.
If you take those years away, he's still the all-time leading receiver.
Sure. Yes,
but yes, he played for 21 years. Anyways,
wow, it's amazing.
He did, yeah.
That's an accomplishment. See, that should be seen as an accomplishment, really. I mean, 21 years at that position, that's unbelievable.
And
but,
in one year, 97, he got hurt and only played 2 games.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm not qualified enough, in my opinion, to speak on Jerry Rice. That's how I've always viewed this because I never really saw him enough.
So the best receiver of your era is
yes, that I've really ever seen.
And I would 100% agree with that.
Yeah, and to me,
he is my favorite player of all time in the NFL.
Oh, okay. Well, there it is. So yeah, I don't know who would be number 2, but there's a drop off. I'm not sure where that drop off is. Maybe it's Owens. Maybe it's. I mean, Calvin Johnson was really, really good. I know it was a relatively short career, unfortunately, but he was exceptionally good. Julio Jones is exceptional as well. Yeah, I'm not sure where I would rank some of the other players, but certainly Antonio Brown would be up there. By the way, as well.
He'll get there, yeah.
So
for sure.
yeah, no, he's not there per se. Again, he's great hands and a really, really strong, solid route runner, but not dominant enough. The other guys, I've mentioned, to me, can dominate a game and take over a game and almost win you a game at a position that you shouldn't really be able to do that in. Larry Fitzgerald, to me, is not that guy. He's one of the great premier route runners and understanding the position that I've seen, but not much more than that. So a strong career, great career. Actually, when I was in between jobs, moving from San Diego to the D.C. area, because it was wintertime and I wasn't in the golf industry at that point, I waited on him at when I was working at a restaurant there.
Waited on Jerry Rice?
No, Larry Fitzgerald.
Oh, Fitzgerald.
For about 9 months, yes. And he was, you don't know what to expect, obviously, because you hear he's such a nice guy, and this type of thing. And he was.
It'd be terrible to get the complete opposite.
He was like a dick. Yeah, I thought about that too. I was like, I just kind of hope he's not a dick. A lot of the other servers, they just wanted to know what the tip was or whatever. Is he going to tip big? I didn't really care much about that. I just was curious. So we had a little conversation
with him. I wouldn't care if he left me zero. If he gave me
he was with his wife or significant other, and it was just kind of like a nice sort of. They were doing their own thing. I wasn't that into it. But when she went to the restroom, though, I did talking about how much I'm a football fan and how it's kind of cool that he's there, and it was just kind of an honor.
Where again?
P.F. Chang's in Tyson's Corner, Virginia.
Tyson's Corner, Virginia.
Yeah, just outside of D.C. So,
I thought you said Texas, but yeah.
No, yeah, P.F. Chang's, late on like a Wednesday or something like that, and it was just totally random. He was as nice as everybody has said, and the way he is, he was genuine, seemingly, and very down to earth, very nice guy. So, yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about him. He'll be remembered, I think, as a really high quality both person and player. Just never really got over the hump, but not exactly 100% his fault. But certainly he's well up there in my book. And where's he going to play? I don't know. It's a great question.
Where's he going to play?
I don't know. My guess is he doesn't have much more than a year or two contract.
Oh, I thought you said where's he going to play?
Yeah, well, I just don't.
I have imagined this is the last one.
He
signed a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I would expect. So it is a 1 year. I didn't know he had actually signed. Okay, yeah. So this is probably just about it.
Unless he says, hey, I want to go play with Brady or Breeze or whoever.
Yeah.
I don't want to just throw out Brady there, but
he got a little bit better as the season went on this year. I think he was hurt for the first 3 or 4 games, and he wasn't himself. He looked a little bit more himself as the season pressed on, but still, he's not the same player, and he did not seem nearly as quick getting off the line, and just routes aren't as crisp down the field. I followed him independently a few times during games, just watching him zeroing in on him, and he's Yeah, he's just not the same player. But I think he was definitely hurt the first few games, and he did get a lot better as the season went on. And getting more used to a rookie quarterback certainly is. It's going to take some time. So it's hard to fault him for whatever he did or didn't do in this season because it's with Josh Rosen at quarterback, you're relatively limited.
That's true.
And a brand new offensive coordinator for the last 4 or 5 weeks as well. First time calling plays.
He's going to get a new one again too.
It's so unlucky for him that he's.
That's the thing. He's just been very unlucky. I mean, when he had Kurt Warner, I don't know exactly when Kurt Warner played, but I mean, you're looking at 2007 to 2011, 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons. Worst season was 1137. In that spot, he had 10, 20, 35, 49 touchdowns in 5 years. So I mean,
very good.
Yeah, and it's just. It's tough to say where you'd put him. I just feel like his success, and again, we know it's a team game, but we still judge people on success. I just feel like, other than obviously the Super Bowl year, which he was incredible, 30 catches, 500 yards, and 7 touchdowns in his Super Bowl year, which is that's amazing in his playoff
the
playoffs, the playoff run, 4 games. He's just going to be stigmatized by never really winning, and
by some people.
And I'm not saying he's like, oh, he's not even a top 20 receiver. No, because I believe he is. It's just, I mean, again, I think nobody compares to Rice. Just even if I hadn't really seen him statistically, it's Jerry Rice is head and shoulders above every person as far as statistics. I mean, he is literally like 5 seasons ahead of everybody. If you look at like career average numbers, I mean, yes, he played. Like I said, we just talked about he played. You could lop off those 5 years in Oakland and Seattle, and he's still, 3 years ahead of everybody. But I'd say Larry Fitzgerald's a top 10 receiver. It's just unfortunate that he wasn't able to be showcased on a team that won.
Yeah, it is unfortunate.
Consistently.
For him. Yeah, that wouldn't change my opinion of him, though. If he had won 2 Super Bowls here, I wouldn't move him up in my rankings. He is what he was to me. I felt
like his ability to make catches. Like, he would go up and make catches that I would not expect a lot of people to make.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, he had great hands, too. If
and obviously,
sort of hit his hands,
in the beginning, you can see he was obviously benefited by having Bolden there, too.
True. Good point.
Anquan Bolden was a big, big help.
That's true.
And then you can kind of see where Carson Palmer revitalized him, too. 15, 16, 17, all 1,000-yard seasons. Yep. 9, 9, and 6 as far as touchdowns. 100 catches each of those 3 years.
Yeah.
And then you see last year 69 catches. I mean, you can see the transition. I don't know exactly when Warner left. Who was the quarterback between Warner and Palmer? Matt Leinart was one.
Oh, nice. Yes.
But he wasn't around for long. But my point being is, let's just say hypothetically Kurt Warner left in 2011. And then in 2015, Carson Palmer came around. Because you can see the dip, 790, 950, 780.
Right.
You can see the dip. So I'm just going to say that that's the exit and entrance of those 2 guys.
Yep.
But I think it's top 10. Mm-hmm. And but again, I think if we see him in the Super Bowl, if he makes that Santonio Holmes catch in the Super Bowl, I think I'm moving him up.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
I know.
If he's the one making that catch, I move him
understand.
up. Fair enough. So, anyways, that's just tough. All right, moving on. Another receiver, Julian Edelman. Speaking of Hall of Fame and where he ranks, he's been getting a lot of the talk on these media outlets of is he a Hall of Famer? And I'll take my Patriots cap off on this, and we'll have a conversation. So I'll let you start.
Sure. And I'm going to echo some of the similar things that we just talked about with Larry Fitzgerald. To me, I really separate out the quality of the team, and this is the opposite of Larry Fitzgerald. Obviously, Edelman's played on a lot of very high-quality teams, not just the players around him, but certainly the coaching staff has been exceptional. So I think that goes into a lot of what Julian's success has been, especially postseason success, just because he's been in the postseason a lot, and that's certainly he's been a help, because of that. Obviously, his play has certainly helped propel them there, but he's not the reason or the main. He hasn't been the main focal point per se. Maybe the last couple of years he's been much more of the part of the offense, but it's still not exactly a guy I would think of. So looking at that, and being to me, a relatively role stock type of player who plays in a great system with a quarterback that has obviously risen to the occasion many times. I think that, to me, he's always going to be significantly overrated because he's been on a lot of great teams. And while I think we should commend him on having a nice career and a transition from a quarterback to a receiver, which is so rare to see with this level of success, I think he's no more than that. He's a guy you remember after his career is over as being a very good player on a team that won a lot of championships and just a lot of games in general, and that's great. But Hall of Fame, to me, not even in the realm of close, in my opinion.
I would agree with that. I mean, he never led the league in anything, catches, yards, touchdowns. And, again, the first 4 years of his career, he was an afterthought in the Randy Moss, Wes Welker, Rob Gronkowski realm. He's never even been the best receiver on his team until maybe this year.
Mm-hmm. This year, definitely, yeah.
2 1,000-yard seasons. I think he would have had a 1,000-yard season this year if he wasn't suspended for the first 4 games.
Yes.
Obviously, a big injury last year created an issue, but I mean, I think that the pub that everybody's talking about is 105 catches in the postseason, which, again, is only second to Jerry Rice. And when you're second to Jerry Rice in anything, that's when they start getting these kind of comparisons. But I'll ask you this. Regular season, how many touchdowns do you think Julian Edelman has? He's played in the league since 2009.
Yeah, this is probably not very many because he's a possession slot receiver. 2009. All right, we'll go with. Let's do 53.
You would be way wrong.
Oh, close.
30.
30. It's even lower. Wow, I thought I guessed kind of low. Oh,
yeah,
goodness.
He has 30, and his
Okay.
career receiving average is 10.8 yards per catch.
Yeah.
So, yeah, again, you epitomize the question is everybody's like, well, he's Wes Welker. Wes Welker was great. Yeah, Wes Welker had 100-catch seasons, 4 or 5 years in a row. Mm-hmm. And even you're talking about, I wouldn't even sniff Wes Welker for a Hall of Fame spot.
He was a great returner, too.
He was. You're absolutely right. Wow. And not even just in New England. Even in Miami, he was a great returner. But he's not a Hall of Famer. And if he's not a Hall of Famer, then Julian Edelman's not a Hall of Famer.
Definitely.
Again, his career's not done, but in effectively 10 years, you have 5,200 yards. Actually, 9 years because he missed 2017. But 9 years, 5,200 yards, and 30 touchdowns is just not Hall of Fame numbers. He is very good, though, and I will give him that. But that is not Hall of Fame. So a lot of people are putting him in. Actually, a lot of people are having. My favorite one I've heard lately is: would you rather have the career of Julian Edelman or Calvin Johnson?
Oh God. Julian's having a lot more fun in his career. So if you look at it, if you care about winning,
it's basically a numbers versus winning thing. Kind of thing.
It depends on what you care about and what you like.
And we believe Calvin Johnson will be a Hall of Famer.
To me, he is. But I don't. If you're asking me if it was my individual decision, I'd much rather be Julian Edelman. Much rather be, because it's a team game and I want to win. I'm a competitive guy. So to me, the money is kind of secondary. The accolades are sort of secondary. Statistics are secondary. To me, I want to win being a part of a team. So that's the best part about it. It's the most fun. So that's how I would answer. I mean, I don't know. Maybe others would care about all different things. It's certainly
that's the question. Do you care about, Calvin got paid? Calvin has the numbers. Calvin will be in the Hall of Fame. Julian has the rings. He's won. I mean, Calvin Johnson never played a playoff game.
That is unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So, wow. It's just it's a really good question, and it's like, what matters to you? I mean, if the money matters to you, you want Calvin Johnson.
That's it.
If the rings and the winning matter to you, you want Julian Edelman.
There it is. It's the one.
So, it's been a tough one for me to decide. I don't know. I mean, I personally like money.
Yeah.
But I've never had an inkling of thought in my mind of becoming an NBA or an NFL player.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong here. It depends on what you like. Yeah, I'm not.
But I'd also love to win Super Bowls. So it's really hard. It's really hard to say. I mean, look at freaking Calvin Johnson, dude. His last year in the league, 88 catches, 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns. I mean, he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing. I mean,
yes, he was an amazing player.
Yeah.
in my top 5, as I as I had reeled off a few there. And
11
Julio Jones, same way too.
11K and 83 touchdowns. That was his.
Okay,
That was his career stats.
gotcha.
Worst touchdown year was 2007. He had 4. Everything else was 8 or above. Excuse me. That's crazy.
Yes. You're preaching to the choir here.
You start to look at
fan.
these guys' stats.
Huge fan.
I mean, it sucks. It's like, just like Larry Fitzgerald. They were just on losing teams,
Yes.
and you just get lost in the spotlight. So it just sucks to see that. So
Yeah, you're in Detroit your whole career. It's probably not going to go all that well for you, unfortunately.
yeah. All right. Last thing we'll touch on here is the Dallas Cowboys. Cole Beasley has basically come out and said the front office, which let's face it, we know who the front office is in Dallas, has basically said that the front office dictates or pushes who they want to get the ball week to week.
Wow.
What do you think of that?
Well, I think he's probably not going to be there anymore. You probably can't say things like that and play for the team still, especially a Jerry Jones franchise who, I think.
Well, he is a free agent, so
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
he's not
But
coming. More than
he's
likely, not coming back.
No, you don't say that, and then like.
Could you imagine Julian Edelman and Cole Beasley running routes for Tom Brady? Could you stop them?
I think it would be fun to watch. Sure, why not?
That would remind me of who was the guy? Who was the guy? Maybe it's Steph Curry, but the guy in the NBA. It was like Ray Allen. Ray Allen. He was always running, and whoever had to guard him was
Yes.
just chasing.
Yeah, it was fun.
And chasing him. And I remember when he was in Boston, Miami, just watching that guy. He was just always running around, being chased. So,
He really altered his career a lot because if you watch him in Milwaukee, he had the ball in his hands a lot.
Yeah, he
more
was
often.
the guy,
So it was
yeah.
really a fascinating guy to
he was
see
in
how his career.
Seattle too, wasn't he? For a little bit?
Yes, he was really good for the Sonics. Absolutely. Yeah, it was. He was a fun player to watch transition too. Really, another smart ball player too that really understood roles well and just he fit well with teams. I know he's a really good teammate. A lot of people talk about that as being one of his great skills. But anyways, that's
Right. Yeah, that's a Ray Allen.
Yeah,
We're talking about Cole Beasley.
But a good guy to bring up because he's fun to talk about. But
I
yes.
gotta imagine he knew he wasn't getting a contract in this spot.
Yes.
Which, I mean, the Dallas Cowboys aren't really wanting to start letting even decent receivers walk.
No.
But yeah, I think he's probably made his bet at this point. But this was actually a tweet. He said, honestly, the front office pushes who they want to get the ball to. I haven't been a huge priority in that regard. Maybe that will change, but I'm not sure. More balls seem to come my way in the 2-minute drill because nothing's really planned then. So, and another tweet, someone asked him about his free agency. He said, my utilization is more important than money. So maybe he was backtracking a little bit in that spot. But
This is why I say this. There's no positive for him in his career to say things
well, that's
like
the thing,
this.
because you know what? As much as he just dissed Dallas, who's to say anybody other franchise agrees with him?
Yeah, but and who wants to maybe potentially deal with that? That they're going to sign a player that might spout off about stuff in social media. Like no organization wants to look bad in this sense. Like their franchise is their baby. Like and it's a moneymaker, for a lot of these owners. Like it's a really bad. That just again don't say things like this. Like in the public perspective, I know we talk about that sometimes from time to time.
Much as players
too.
think it's a players' league, it's not a players' league.
It's not. Yeah, you're at the whim of the decisions from above. I don't understand. It's not like it would be a little bit easier if he had the Antonio Brown type of skill set. You might be able to get away with a few things here and there. You can film
he
a
got
coach,
away with a
stuff
lot,
like that.
but eventually, yeah.
Right, you just can't. But he's not even in the realm of obviously, he's a
no way.
whatever. He's just a kind of a nice enough slottish sort of receiver that he's fine. Whatever. If he, I hate to play a race card here, but if he wasn't white, I don't think we would care as much or think about it as much, or he'd be nearly involved in discussion. It's just one of those things.
That's an interesting spin on it.
I hate to be that guy, but somebody has to say it. I'm going to go ahead and do it. So
No, I'm saying it's an interesting spin because most of the time we say, well, if he wasn't black, we wouldn't be having a discussion. But
Yeah.
that's usually outside of the realm of sports.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's just funny to hear say if he wasn't white, we would have.
I don't think it'd be as much of a
Racist.
thing. I don't think we'd be talking about it as much. You wouldn't be shown as much in the media. It's there's not a lot of receivers that look like him and are able to play. It's just more of a rarity. Same similar with Julian Edelman. There's just not a lot of players like that. So yeah, I don't know.
It's shocking that there aren't, and I'm not trying to make this a racial issue, but it seems like white guys like Edelman and Beasley seem to be more speedy than the black guys. The only one I can think of really that's speedy is like Golden Tate. And maybe Emmanuel Sanders early, like Pittsburgh days.
Yes, the earlier times, yeah.
But like it's weird. It's like they almost seem more shifty and agile, and I don't know. I don't know really where I'm going with that. But
I don't know either. Most of the really kind of interesting to see where you're
most
going
of the
with
time, black people are faster than white people, especially athletes.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a precedent set. We can definitely say that. I don't know where you're necessarily going with this, but yeah,
I'm just saying it just seems like white wide receivers have found a lot of them have found homes as niche wide receivers. Little shifty Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Chris Hogan, Cole Beasley, Wayne Corbett. I mean, let's take it back.
Absolutely.
It seems like that's their niche.
Maybe the only exception would be like Ed McCaffrey, who was, kind of tall and lanky and kind of weird.
Steve Largent, but that's going way back.
Way back. So, yeah, there you go. No, you're...
Adam Humphries is another one that comes to mind for Tampa. So,
you're obviously
anyways.
right. I mean, I can't, you're right by saying these things. I don't know what it is, skill-wise, how it translates.
McCaffrey and Steve Largent over how many years?
Yeah, not many, right. There's not many. Tom Waddle a little bit maybe with Chicago. But, yeah, I mean, we're going pretty far back.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it does not, I'm not trying to make at all a point here in this regard. To me...
Where did we go wrong?
If you don't have the, again, whether... race notwithstanding, if you have the skill set that Cole Beasley has, I think you should talk less and try to, whatever you need to get to garner a contract or continue to playing in the NFL. Because I think it's kind of questionable whether he even finds a team and has a legit contract. I don't think he's really bought himself that. To me, it's a pretty stupid thing to do. Now, with what he said, with getting to actually what was said. When I saw this, none of this is surprising because I'm one of the biggest anti-Dallas management and regime there could be. I think Stephen Jones is actually relatively legit, Jerry's kid. I know he was a main proprietor in a couple of the draft picks on the offensive line. He was the guy that pushed the envelope for Zeke Elliott. That's definitely been talked about. He's embraced some of the statistics and other sort of ways of looking at determining a player and their quality more than Jerry has. So I do think that Steven is definitely a viable player in this situation, definitely contributes a lot, but Jerry Jones has proven to me over the last decade plus since Jimmy Johnson left, and Jimmy was a huge part of developing this organization and the players, that Jerry doesn't know what he's doing. He's completely, in regards to building a team, in regards to building an actual team of football players. His franchise and making the franchise viable and worth a lot of money, he's obviously very good. But in regards to the football aspect of it, he's bad. He's a classic owner that is involved and doesn't really have a good idea of what he's doing. So this doesn't surprise me that he would want to infiltrate and get involved in this thing. I think there's a reason why Jason Garrett has been there for so long. And personally, I know we both disagree on this, and that's fine. I don't think Jason Garrett is an NFL head coach, not at all. But he's there mostly because I think he can be maneuverable, and he's sort of Jerry's puppet. Yeah, malleable kind of guy. There you go. That's what I'll go with. That he's a bit of an ass puppet, if you will, where he's just kind of a guy. There it is. That's what I see Jason Garrett as more than anything else. He's a smart guy. I mean, he's not been a disaster. I'm not saying that in regards to Jason, but he's to me not a great NFL head coach or a guy that will succeed outside of the realm of Dallas. In a regular spot where he has to, kind of do his own thing and not be, Jerry's sort of puppet. I just don't like the organization all that much and the way they have it set up. So I get what Cole's saying. He's probably right with a lot of this stuff. I'm guessing he's not making this up, but don't say it. Why are you saying it?
How does that benefit you at all?
Can't. It cannot benefit you. Not at all. So, there it is.
All right, that's going to wrap it up I have to just tell you something, and I don't want you to respond to it. I just want you to hear me. I just want you to listen.
Okay.
Gronk is awesome.
Oh, there it is. The last word.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. We appreciate you listening. There's a lot of shit on the docket. We talked a lot this podcast, but I think it was a good one. So, Tony, any parting words? I'll leave. I'll leave you with a.
I'll let you have the last word. That's fine.
So just Gronk's great.
I'm gonna. That's fine. Yeah, he had one of his better games in the last 6.
He looked good
last week.
He looked good. And I'm not talking about just the last catch. I mean, I think he looked blocking wise. I think he looked really good.
Right. Well, I'm we don't share the same opinion, but I mean that's fine. He had a very nice game. I can't say anything.
Well, there are two
negative
schools of
about
thought.
that.
My thought and the wrong thought.
Oh, I
Yours.
see. Yes. Right. So the thought when he immediately retires after the season's over, we'll go say. But no,
Ooh, that's a good prop bet. What do you think?
I think he's retiring for sure. Win or lose, doesn't matter. But yes,
Is that in the Bible, the sportsbook Bible? Or the,
Well, I didn't look. I didn't look all the way in, but my parting actually thought will be quickly based on the props. And anyone that's looking around that lives in Las Vegas, this is about. I highly recommend if you have some extra time here and there, and you have the apps downloaded on the phone. I think this year more than anything else, I'm actually going to write an article for Vegas Squares here upcoming. I think shopping for lines for
Might be
the
the
prop
biggest
bets
year of it.
is the biggest year of doing so. I've already seen a lot of discrepancy, and I think that these things are so tight because these teams are relatively quantifiable with what they do. I really think that shopping for lines is immensely important and can behoove you. Now, again, if you only have one option or whatever, go ahead and go for it and take
do
it.
what you gotta do.
It is what it is. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying if you're one of those people that has an option, you need to take this more than any other time that I can remember in the last 3 to 4 years where I've been a serious prop bettor. All I'll say.
I think the other sports books are actually getting into the prop bets more.
Yes.
So to be competitive, you need to maybe adjust yourself away from the Superbook. So
Very much so.
that might be the thought process. But we're gonna have we'll get to all that. We're gonna have our Bible podcast Monday. Will be the
That's
podcast.
my favorite one of the whole year. My favorite.
Actually, we may
podcast.
even do that separately. That might be a separate podcast. It might not air on 12 Ounce Sports Radio, or it might. We'll find out.
I'm excited about it
But,
either way.
yeah, either way. All right, so let's wrap it up here. We want to thank the sponsors, 12 Ounce Sports Radio, Eric on the Web Productions, ChaiPoker.com, and Vegas Puckline Apparel. Again, a special thanks to all those, especially 12 Ounce for putting us on 4 times a week. Want to say thank you to Tony Johnson. Obviously, his knowledge and insight as a sports betting handicapper and just a sports enthusiast is always second to none. And you're going to have to give up that chair next week. Spike comes back.
No problem. Spike was the original in the chair. He deserves a chair. That's fine. I'll go wherever. I just like being a part
We'll
of it.
buy another chair on Amazon.
No problem. I'll say second fiddle to Spike. Spike's entertaining and enjoyable.
I texted Spike. I'm like, "How you feeling? You're gonna podcast this week?" And he's like, "I was like, don't worry about the." I said, "We'll look to do the podcast, the prop bet podcast on like Monday." He goes, "What? No Pro Bowl podcast?"
Nice. There he is.
Yeah. I was like, "Are you gonna watch the Pro Bowl?" He's like, "Fuck no." I'm like, "Well, there you go. You got your answer."
Not many do. I don't think they've struggled with ratings
It's
for a while
surprising
now.
though, because we always talk about how we want the stars to be on the field. Well, they're all on the field
They're
right
all
there,
there,
and
yeah.
I don't watch it either. So.
No, nobody really does. Yeah. Unfortunate. Pick them though. I think it's a pick this year.
Yeah, well, I picked to not watch it. All right, that's it for us. Again, for Tony Johnson, I am Aaron. We appreciate you listening in. We will catch you on the next one.